Jesus knew he was the beloved Son of God. He knew where he came from and where he was going. As broken humans, you and I often base our identity on what other people think about us. Jesus' identity was based not on the passing opinions of other people, but on the eternal foundation of God the Father. Jesus shows us, by the way he lived his life, how he how a beloved child of God can live in our world, and how we share the same identity as Jesus. We too are children of God. The answers to the questions of who we are, where we came from, and where we are going are actually quite simple. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, the giant green book you might be using as a paperweight or a bug killer, has a really helpful glossary in the back. If you look up person, human, you will find this concise but rich definition. The human individual made in the image of God, not something, but someone, a unity of spirit and matter, soul and body, capable of knowledge, self possession, and freedom, who can enter into communion with other persons and with God. That's a lot to absorb right from the start. I will interpret this definition throughout the book, but I want to begin here to reveal the beauty of who we are as women and men in the secure plan of God. The first part of the definition tells us that our deepest longing for belonging reflects the reality that every human being is made in the image and likeness of God. Genesis 1:26. It is here that we find our true identity as children of God. Every person, no matter the circumstances of their conception or birth, is made in the image and likeness of God and is meant to live, love, and thrive. This simply means that your being is very good. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You are his son or daughter, and God doesn't make mistakes or have accidents. He knows what he is doing at all times, and he is not surprised by anything. We are all familiar with the family photos sent out every year in Christmas cards. Pictures may show people on the beach looking perfect or dressed up as Santa, or feature a terrified kid looking at Santa. Or perhaps the children are arranged in a living nativity scene. It's cute and often funny. There is one family in particular that I look forward to hearing from every Christmas. Their family photo is stunning. The entire family is gorgeous, and their photo looks like it fell out of a fashion magazine. Everyone in the family, from the mother and father all the way down to the youngest child, looks similar and all are equally beautiful. In fact, the children look so much like the parents that if I see the kids out in public somewhere, I know which family they belong to because they look so much like their parents. The kids bear the image of their father and mother in many diverse ways. This is a human scale analogy to help us understand what it means that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Just as we can know a bit about the parents by looking at their children, we can know a bit about God and the Creator by looking at His creation. We are the only creatures that make we are the only creatures that God makes in his image and likeness. Genesis 1:26. As human beings, male and female, we are the crown of creation. It's not the polar bear or the sea squirt that reigns supreme. After creating humanity, God looks at all the things he has created and pronounces them to be very good. Genesis 1:31. We are very good because we are created in the image and likeness of God, who is goodness himself. We can know and love because God knows and loves. The best of our knowing and loving here on earth is only a splinter of the perfection of how God knows and loves eternally. He made us. We belong to Him and we long for Him, whether we realize it or not. Our belonging is ultimately found in the One who loves us and is foreshadowed here on earth by the love of our family and friends. Our desire to belong, to fit in and find happiness is really a search for our eternal home, heaven. We desire happiness because we desire heaven. In heaven, we will rest in the ecstatic, never ending joy of realizing who we truly are, God's beloved sons and daughters. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I look into the mirror in the morning, I don't find my reflection to be too pleasant. Even though I have been a religious sister for many years, I still need God to remind me who I am. One morning, not too long ago, I was feeling pretty down about myself on a number of levels. When I arrived at Mass and plopped myself in the pew, I was hardly joyful or living out of my true identity as God's daughter. After an hour of self pity, I genuflected after Mass and had ended and made my way to the back of the church. Near the door, an elderly woman stopped me and introduced me to her 5-year-old granddaughter. As I bent down to greet his beautiful little girl, she looked up at me with her big eyes, full of wonder, and said, "You look like a princess." Needless to say, her sweet words pierced me to the heart for a number of reasons. She was reminding me of something I had forgotten in my fog of self absorption. She was reminding me that a princess isn't a girl who is spoiled or snotty. A princess, in the truest definition, is a daughter of the king. I had forgotten that I am not the sum of my triumphs, failures, and faults. My deepest identity is that I am God's daughter. That is a relationship that no one can take away from me or from you. Sometimes people think that because I'm a religious sister, I must have grown up in a perfect family with a perfect upbringing, or maybe I at least came out of the womb glowing with the glittery company of angels marking my arrival to planet Earth. Not quite. I will share my story throughout this book, but suffice it for now to say that I did not grow up knowing that I was created in the image and likeness of God. As His beloved daughter, I did not know that God loved me more completely than I could ever imagine. I did grow up Catholic. I went to church every Sunday with my mom and dad and my brother, and I attended classes to fulfill the requirements to receive the sacraments. Somehow, though, this deeper reality that at the core of my being was a great calling and belonging as a true daughter of God, the Father, and never penetrated my heart. Catholicism for me was a list of duties, obligations, and prohibitions. I didn't see or understand God as my loving Father who watches over me and speaks to me in my heart. I saw him as the policeman in the sky who notes everything I do, wrong or who notes everything I do wrong and who was overwhelmingly disappointed with me no matter how much I try. I felt that he would love me I felt that he would love me only when I was a good girl, and that his love was conditional. If I performed well, he would love me. If I made mistakes or failed, then he would not love me as much. I did not think he knew me as I truly was, and even more disheartening, I did not think he even cared. This broken way of seeing God would haunt me for a very long time, especially as my life grew more dark and sinful. How could I believe in how could I believe in and trust a God of whom I was afraid? How could a faith that seemed rule based and boring set me on fire? I had no idea. I remember the quote from the talk show guest: if we don't know where we came from and where we are going, we will be easily manipulated. Welcome to my years of life. Thankfully, love intervened in some of my darkest hours and still continues to do so. Prayer. God, please come meet me in the place where I am right now. You know my heart. I don't have to pretend with you. Father, me as I am. I have never been fathered before. Come show me who you truly are and how beloved I am to you. Come speak to me as your child in your tender and compassionate love. Amen. Questions for deeper reflections. Answer as honestly as you can and bring your answers, desires, and fears to God. What are some of the deep longings of my heart? What are some of my greatest desires? In what ways do I try to fit in with others? Are any of these ways destructive to myself or others? When I am honest with myself, how do I see God? Do I see him as distant or removed? Is he uninterested or uncaring? Is he loving, kind, compassionate? What is my story in relationship to God? How have I experienced him in my life?